Every empire believes its money is secure. Every state claims its promises will endure. And time after time, history proves otherwise. From Rome to France, from the American Civil War to modern Lebanon, people have lived through the same moment again and again. They wake up to find their savings devalued, their wages stripped of meaning, and their futures quietly taken away by systems they once trusted. Financial collapse is not an exception in history. It is the rule. The real issue is not whether systems will fail, but how people protect themselves when they do. The most dangerous mistake is the illusion of permanence. We look at bank balances and national currencies and assume they are solid, but money is not bedrock. It rests entirely on trust, and trust can disappear overnight. That is why history is brutal yet invaluable. Every collapse leaves traces behind. It reveals what truly holds value and what disintegrates at the first shock. When examined closely, one pattern becomes clear. Those who survive great breakdowns are not the ones who trust the most, but the ones who question first. The Byzantine Empire offers a striking example. Long after the fall of Western Rome, it survived for nearly 1,000 years, anchored by the gold solidus. This coin was so reliable that merchants across Europe, the Middle East, and Asia accepted it without hesitation. For centuries, it functioned as something close to a global reserve currency. One might assume lessons were learned from Rome's earlier disaster with the silver denarius, which emperors steadily debased until it became little more than coated metal. Yet centuries later, Byzantium repeated the same mistake, this time with gold. The purity of the solidus was gradually reduced, alloys were introduced, and its value was stretched thinner. At first, few noticed. Then trust cracked. The currency that once stabilized Mediterranean trade became a political fiction, and economic stability eroded with it. Those who survived were not the ones who relied on imperial promises. They were those who held gold, land, or tangible assets beyond the reach of the state. The lesson is timeless. Governments cannot resist the temptation to dilute their money, and when they do, real value escapes into assets that cannot be created by decree. Not every collapse is born from monetary manipulation. Some are triggered by sudden external shocks. In the mid-14th century, Europe was devastated by the Black Death. Nearly half the population vanished. Cities emptied. Trade collapsed. Yet the economic outcome was not one-dimensional. With labor scarce, its value rose. Survivors demanded higher wages. Land and food became abundant relative to people. Those with liquidity, silver, goods, or simply the ability to work gained extraordinary leverage. Property that had once been unattainable sold for a fraction of its former cost. This dynamic is not foreign to the modern world. During the COVID pandemic, supply chains fractured and governments printed unprecedented amounts of money. Those with liquidity acquired assets. Those living paycheck to paycheck fell behind. Pandemics redistribute wealth. They always have. Crisis does not destroy value evenly. It rearranges who holds it. The banking collapse of Renaissance Florence reveals another recurring truth. Institutions deemed too big to fail are anything but. In the 14th century, Florence was Europe's financial hub, home to powerful banking houses that lent heavily to kings. When those rulers defaulted, the banks collapsed. Depositors were ruined. Trade froze. The city descended into turmoil. Size proved to be no shield. Reputation offered no protection. This lesson echoed through centuries. During the American Civil War, both North and South relied on printing money to fund the conflict. In the North, inflation steadily eroded purchasing power. In the South, currency collapsed almost entirely. Paper money gave way to real assets, land, food, and gold. A similar pattern emerged during the French Revolution. Uncontrolled issuance of assignats destroyed trust, prices spiraled, and people refused paper altogether. Once again, promises failed. Tangible value endured. The Asian financial crisis of 1997 exposed the same structure from a different angle. Nations burdened with dollar-denominated debt found themselves trapped when their currencies collapsed. Ordinary citizens paid the price. In Lebanon, after 2019, banks locked their doors. Deposits were frozen. A lifetime of savings vanished almost overnight. Across all these cases, the conclusion is consistent. Money fails, debt enslaves, and survival belongs not to those who trust systems blindly, but to those who recognize fragility before it becomes visible. Protection lies not in paper promises, but in real assets, liquidity, and adaptability. Yet survival is not only about what one owns, it is also about what one can do. Throughout history, those who endured were not just asset holders, but producers, people who could build, repair, grow, trade, and provide. Money may lose meaning. Production never does. Every major collapse is ultimately a transfer of wealth, from those who trust to those who prepare, from promises to tangible value. From passive saving to active creation, the only question is what will be held when the next rupture arrives, a promise or something real.